waiting for. There we go.
Okay. Oh,
2, 3. Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL Draft Prospects portion of the show. This is where we get to talk about some of the high-end college players that could be playing on Sunday. Most of them will be, but where are they going to go in the draft, and what do they have that might be noteworthy for the team that you support in the National Football League? Along with Vincent Turner, our producer, Logan Landers, my name is Harper LeBel. Thank you for joining the show here today. We're going to look at 3 different stars that are part of the collegiate level right now. The first is Travis Hunter from the University of Colorado. We're going to talk about Carson Beck, the quarterback for the University of Georgia. And then we're going to look at Jalen Milroe, the quarterback for Alabama. First, let's start with Travis. And Vincent, my thoughts about Travis, one thing about him, it's his size, but you have to acknowledge the fact that this guy, he never comes off the field. And maybe even for special teams, he'll be punting before we know it. But here's a guy, he's lean, but at 6'1", 185 pounds, especially as a wide receiver and or a cornerback, he's got all the tools.
When you looked at Travis Hunter, and he coming out of Collins Hills, he here locally in the Metro Atlanta area, he's a 5-star recruit. I believe he was the number 1 player in his class. And he shocked the world when he signed with Jackson State and Deion Sanders. So he played there for 1 year, and I think a lot of people didn't know how special player he was because he easily could have went to Florida State. I think he was committed to Florida State.
He was.
Everybody in the country wanted him, but we know he was electric. We know he was athletic. We know he was explosive. I saw him play a couple of times on TV in high school, and I was saying to myself, this guy's a very good football player at the receiver position. But I tell you what, since he's gotten over to Colorado and played against more better competition, he's just as good a defensive back as a wide receiver. Here's a guy that's playing 140 snaps a game at a high level, and I want to say major college football. And there's been a lot of great football players that came through this game over the years that's been very explosive. And I mean, when you watch him play at Colorado, it's not about his skill set, his football IQ. It's the plays he makes on both sides of the ball. Because if Colorado didn't have him right now, what would it be? I don't care about Shedeur Sanders, but to me, Travis Hunter is the guy that drives the bus over there. And then I think about all the great football players that were explosive in college football over my years of living. And I'm 64 years old. So I go back to Billy Cannon when he was at LSU. Then I think about Jim Brown when he was a lacrosse player, how explosive he was at Syracuse. Then I think about Tony Dorsett when he was a running back at Pitt. I think about Johnny Rodgers when he was at Nebraska. I think about the two-way guy that I had to go all the way back, Tommy Casanova, how he was playing running back and defensive back at LSU. Then, of course, Charles Woodson, Champ Bailey, Rob Woodson, all these guys, they had that kind of, I want to say, both ways to them. But the one thing, they didn't play 140 snaps, and they didn't play it at a high level. And then I think about Travis Hunter from an explosive standpoint. Some of the catches that he's made at the receiver position, man, it's like getting you up out of your chair. It's like making chills go through your body, just like when O.J. Simpson had that 64-yard run in 67 against UCLA. Like Tony Dorsett, them explosive runs he had against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Johnny Rodgers, his run against Oklahoma in 71. Billy Sims at OU, Marcus Dupree. And this guy's playing 140 snaps a game. I'll be honest. Right now, we had to vote today. He's, no question in my mind, the best football player in college football. If we had to say today, he's the number 1 consensus pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And you said one thing, Harper. The only concern is his weight. He's got to get big at the next level. But what he's doing is unheard of ever in the history of college football. I think people need to stand back and see that this guy's playing 140 snaps and he's an impact on both sides of the ball. And then when he make plays, as I say, it makes you get chills through your body. It makes you come up out of your chair. And if you're sitting here lying to yourself, I know you're lying, because if you're a diehard football fan and watching them play over the last few weeks, you got to feel that way about Travis Hunter. Back to you, Mr. Harper LeBel.
Yeah, he's something else now. I go back to Tony Gonzalez. If you remember, the Hall of Fame tight end, he was asked once, he said, "What makes you such a good football player?" And if you remember, Tony was about 6'5", and he played college basketball at Cal Berkeley.
Could have won NBA.
That's right. So his answer was, "Well, I know that basketball made me a better football player, and football made me a better basketball player." If you think about it, there are some skill sets and finding yourself, getting open, posting, doing things that you do in basketball that he applied to his football game, and vice versa with football to basketball. The toughness, being able to take a hit, being able to maneuver in traffic and still be athletic. If you apply that to Travis, I think he's done a magnificent job of taking the skills that he has as a wide receiver and then applying that to go, how would I play defense against me? When I lower my hands when I'm going to make a break on or a move, I recognize when I'm going to move. I know it. And what about a defender? He sees it as well. So he looks for, when he's playing a cornerback, he looks for the hand position that a receiver has in order to see, is he going to make a break? Is he going to give me a fake? Is he going to give me a double move? He's applied all of that to where he's really good at both. He has great hands. He has terrific feet. I'm a foot guy when it comes to sports. Everything in any sport starts with footwork. Whether you're throwing darts, bowling, tennis, it doesn't matter. Your footwork is critical for you to be successful. Do you have balance? Do you have strength? Do you have speed? Do you have all of those above? And he does. The one thing that sticks out in my mind about as much as anything is his endurance. Can anyone question whether this guy has what it takes to play at the next level in the NFL? 140 snaps a game, as Vincent just said. He's tough. He's aggressive. He can last. He's somebody that is very special. Will he win the Heisman Trophy? We don't know. He's certainly a candidate for it, because if you look at who the best player is, he's got to be considered amongst that, because he's doing more than most players do. So high IQ, very aware of what's going on, and athletic beyond all. Any final thoughts before we move on about Travis Hunter? Vincent?
We always say this at 100 yards of football, it's the facts. The facts are Mr. Travis Hunter right now has 561 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns, having 12 yards a catch. On defense, he had 16 tackles. He's got 2 interceptions, playing 140 snaps. He's the most electrifying football player that I've seen in my entire life. Plain and simple.
Well, we'll find out. There's still half the season left to go, but he has certainly made a tremendous impression on us, on most people in the state of Colorado, and most people around the country. We'll see if he has that same impact on the 32 teams in the National Football League. The next gentleman we're going to look at is Carson Beck, the quarterback for the University of Georgia. Carson has a high IQ. He's got a great arm. He's got a lot of tangibles that people will be measuring. You're going to hear throughout the course of the year kind of a repetition in terms of quarterback position and the play. And this guy has a big league arm and he does all that. You're going to hear a lot of different ways of looking at it. But here's the one thing about him, at least in my opinion, and Vincent will get your view in just a moment, is he's leading one of the best teams in the country, and doing so after patiently waiting for his turn in a manner that I appreciate his consistency. And he's not the perfect quarterback for most people, but I'll tell you what, he's doing a great job of leading the Bulldogs.
What I love about Carson Beck, okay, he signs with Georgia. As you just mentioned, he waited his turn. Now, he was a big-time prospect out of Jacksonville, Florida. 4-star, a lot of schools wanted him. But think about, he had to wait his turn. He had to sit back behind a guy, Stetson Bennett, who I would still say Carson Beck is a way much better pro prospect than him. And to me, that took a lot of maturity. And I know it was times that you're looking at Carson at 6'4", 6'5". He had to be thinking about leaving Georgia, man, going playing somewhere else. That's the first thing I love about the young man, is maturity. Then as a former Georgia quarterback that we had on the show, he can spin it at a high level. Ball placement is just unbelievable. The velocity on the ball is unbelievable. But when I gained more respect for, and he took a lot of flack because he bought a Lamborghini in the offseason doing his NIL deal. But what really got me is for him being a number one pick in the draft was how his play was the other night against Alabama. He had 3 interceptions in the game, but he had 2 interceptions early. He could have easily went in the tank. He made some bad throws. But as we talked about here on 100 Yards Football, he bounced back. And he still stayed within his kind of framework. And you saw what happened in the second half. And I love his ball, how he throws that ball. Now, I'm going to take you back, Harper, and I'm going to make you smile today. Now, he reminds me of a guy that's out there where you from in Southern California. Finished the game back in the 80s. Very rich, one of the richest guys in real estate. But he went to Cal first. But then I didn't hear of him until I was in the 11th grade, and I saw him playing for Nebraska. Look at Harper, he's smiling. Then he played with the Rams. If this boy don't remind you of Vince Ferragamo, I don't know, maybe I'm lying. But the way he throws that ball, I'm looking at Vince Ferragamo when he was with the Rams and when he was at Nebraska. Pretty pass, man. Carson Beck can make all the throws. Understand the defenses. Play at a high level when the game is on the line. He's only 2 losses out of Alabama, no question about it. But when you look at it, he's just got that it factor. And to me, when it's all said and done, I'm putting him up there in a level of talent as Matthew Stafford when he was at the University of Georgia. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, it's interesting if somebody gets on him for giving up 28 points. I can't remember him doing that in the first. He had nothing to do with that, right? But they didn't score in the first half, so I get it. I don't know where you're going to rank him right now, but he's up there with the top for a number of reasons. Short, intermediate, deep passing. He can do all of them. He's gotten better with his deep passing. That's probably the weakness that he has right now. But think about this also. He's played in an RPO. He can run those. He doesn't do it all the time. But a pro offense, multiple offense, he's been able to do that at Georgia in a manner where he is probably going to be day one ready once the draft comes about to walk into whoever's team it drafts him and be able to take over or at least be ahead of the curve of what you want. His IQ, football-wise, is off the charts. His accuracy, his pocket presence, sometimes he struggles with pressure, but a lot of folks do. Will he get better? We're going to find out because they're going to have some big games here later on in the season. They're obviously they're a front runner to be in the playoffs, so you're going to see him in some big games, and we'll know a lot more about him in about 2 or 3 months than what we do right now. But very effective, a good quarterback on a great team, and a guy that's a leader that everybody respects. You mentioned the Stetson Bennett thing. Stetson has 2 national championships. What a thrill it would be if Carson was able to at least approach him and one day and go, well, I got one too. So we'll find out about that. Final thoughts about Carson Beck.
Hey, I love the young man's game. I think, hey, we're going to see the best football of him coming up in the next few weeks. They got some big games. They got Texas and Ole Miss. And I think Georgia's not going to lose those games because of his play. I think he's going to come up huge. I think he's a big-time player.
Well, we wish him all the best, especially since we're here in the state of Georgia and the Bulldogs are a national power right now in a way that who would have thought that just 5-6 years ago before Kirby got there. But the team that also has had national promiscuity for a long time and has been someone that you have to take account of, the quarterback that they have right now at the University of Alabama, Jalen Milroe. What a game he had this past week, but I'm going to step into this and I'm going to lead example that he has been for the Crimson Tide. He's 6'2", he's 225 pounds, he's fast, he has a tremendously strong arm. What do you think, Vincent, about this young man and his draft prospects?
I'm going to watch my words very carefully here. I want to say Roll Tide Nation because I know some people over there in Tuscaloosa is watching us today. I know you are. Jalen Milroe, I want to say first, I'm happy for the young man. Number one, look where he was last year. The situation down there at Alabama, let's be honest. They didn't want him as the quarterback. Tommy Reeves benched him after the Texas game. The other quarterbacks, I'm not going to mention the name, played so poorly against South Florida that they had to go back to him. Him fighting through that, Harper, and you being a player, that is really tough, man. When you know the coaching staff don't want you, that's very tough, and that's the truth of it.
Yep.
But when he led Alabama to win the Southeastern Conference title and they played in the Rose Bowl against Michigan, you could still tell he was very bitter. But I'm going to tell you something. When God is in this plan, God is going to bring pieces that fit. Kalen DeBoer, we all know he was a hell of an offensive coach. Look what he's done, what he did with Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. last year, 4,900 yards at the University of Washington, 36 touchdowns. And you knew that Kalen DeBoer was going to have this young man playing at a level right now that we really should not be surprised. Because look at Michael Penix, man. And I'm going to tell you this. Jalen Merrill is still not, I think, one of the most accurate passers. But I'm going to tell you this. He's dangerous throwing the deep ball. And when you look at his stats right now, 964 yards, 10 touchdowns, and you saw what he did against Georgia. What do you have? Almost close over 500 total yards. And the pieces that he has around him right now, and the playmaking ability, and the arm strength, he really reminds me a little bit of Michael Vick when he was at Virginia Tech with a better arm and being a little more accurate. But he's explosive, man. And I think about that pass he made the other night against Georgia after Georgia went up by 1 point. Look, go back and watch the play. He comes up to the line of scrimmage. He audibles. He sees he's got man-to-man coverage outside with the sensational rookie there. I call him Ryan Williams, 17-year-old. He knows he's got man-to-man coverage, and what does he do? He goes over the top. There's no way he makes that play last year. But Kalen DeBoer is taking them to another level. Maybe the best player that's going to be the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft. He's everything you want in a quarterback. Explosive, playmaking ability. He's got Lamar Jackson qualities. I think he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson right now. Michael Vick speed. A lot of people don't even know this, Harper. I remember when Alabama signed him in a recruiting class, and a gentleman I know, I ain't calling his name, he's the defensive line coach at Clark, Atlanta. Die-hard Alabama fan, love Nick Saban, said, Vincent, this kid that we signing out of Texas, Katy, Texas, is the fastest player on the team. At 6'2", 220, Jalen Merrill right now at the University of Alabama is the fastest player on the team. And I'm happy for him because now he's in a system that he's got people that's working with him. The offensive coordinator, Nick Sheridan, who worked with Michael Penix last year, who came over with Kalen DeBoer from Washington. And what I loved more about the young man after the game against Georgia and when Jalen Merrill came into the locker room, how he embraced Nick Sheridan. Thank you. I love you. Roll Tide. Back to you, Harper.
You mentioned a lot there. You stole my notes, everything about how fast. He's as fast as he wants to be, meaning he doesn't have to sprint every single time. And in some cases, you need to slow down so you can gather your feet before you make that big toss that you're going to throw to your receiver on that corner route. He's very good at that. The way he operates, the way he understands the details of the game, the way he reads defenses. You mentioned that a little bit. He has grown leaps and bounds from where he was last year. Strong intermediate, strong short, but now he dropped that last ball there on a dime. What a great throw that he had. I think he's impressed a lot of people. Tight spiral, everything that you would want. So we're going to find out where he is. They're not number one in the nation, but they are going to be near the end of the year. They are very, very good, and he is in charge of taking Alabama to the next step, like so many other quarterbacks have done. What a long line of great quarterbacks Alabama has had, especially recently, and he's another one. So will we see him on day one draft coverage? I believe so. I believe it'll be something that he, especially now from here on out, will be viewed in a completely different manner. And if they go undefeated, or even if they have one loss before the SEC championship, I think his stock will only go up. Vincent, we've looked at 3 of the top prospects here: Travis Hunter, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe. Your thoughts?
I'm going to say all 3 prospects are quality and playing at a high level. As I said before, Travis Hunter, to me, is the greatest football player that I've seen that's played on both sides of the ball. Facts are, he playing 140 snaps a game. Carson Beck, if he's not a young Vince Ferragamo, I don't know who he is. He throws the ball like him, and he's got a pretty good, I want to say, as his colleague, former Georgia Bulldog quarterback Buck Bellew, he can spin it at a high level. Jalen Milroe. There's been a lot of football players that come into this game that are explosive, but I like his story because of last year. Remember, this was an Alabama coaching staff that's not there now that did not want him. He was able to get back under center and lead that team to the college football playoffs. Then he gets a guy coming in, Caleb DeBoer, who has coached one of the best quarterbacks that's played college football, Michael Penix Jr. And now you're seeing what is happening. He's playing at a high level. And when you look at all 3 prospects, I look at them having very great careers at the next level. Very special talent. All 3 players are playing at quality programs. You can say what you want to say about Colorado, but you was a teammate of primetime Deion Sanders, and you know how he worked. We could talk about Georgia. Kirby Smart, remember, he was a defensive coordinator at Alabama when they was winning national championships. So it should be no problem that you should be surprised how Georgia is. And then, of course, Alabama. Alabama's going to be Alabama. And I'm going to say this. Other Kalen DeBoer, they might be as good defensively under Nick Saban, but I'm going to tell you, they're going to have some good offensive football teams over there. And they're going to be a hard out. And right quick, Harper, they are the consensus #1 team this week. They was voted #1. They surpassed Texas. So we are talking about the #1 team in the country, University of Alabama. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see them play. Colorado in 2 weeks, they play Kansas State. Georgia playing Auburn this week. Alabama going down to Nashville to 615. I know some people down there. Shouts out to my daughter, Ashley. One more can I say, man. College football is at a high level. The NFL draft 2025, and I'm like a kid in a cookie jar. Like me, get jealous of me if you want to, because I'm doing it with a very handsome guy that played in the National Football League. He played for several teams, and he was an outstanding player at Colorado State. So y'all keep on hating. I got the Greek God with me, Mr. Harper LeBel. And, of course, to our producer, the very talented babyface Logan Landers.
I don't know if he wants to be called Babyface for the rest, but you just gave him that nickname. Well, you heard it there, folks. Hey, we appreciate you sticking with us. This is 100 Yards of Football. It's the NFL Draft Prospects. For Logan Landers, our engineer, for Vincent Turner, our host, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to thank you for tuning in. We're going to have so many different shows throughout the course of the year. There are a lot of great players that we haven't even begun to touch on yet, but it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a great one. You have plenty of guys that are playing on Saturday that you'll be get to see on Sunday as well. And we look forward to bringing that to you. Yes, sir.
Hey, Harper, can I say one more thing? Right here before we leave today, have Mr. Logan Landers come on the screen.
Come on, Logan.
Here we go. What's the
Now, seriously, to our audience out there and all your ladies, don't even have a beautiful baby face.
What do you think? Huh? Which side? Left or right? Which was the good side?
You better grow a big old mustache and beard just so he doesn't call you babyface anymore.
I'll see what I can do, Harper. I'll go raid the store today.
Well, you got to have more than 3 on each side.
I'll do my best. I'll find some hair growth, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, until then, we want to wish everybody have a great day, folks. Thank you for tuning in to 100 Yards of Football. We appreciate you joining us. Again, this is our Draft Prospect Show. We have other shows, college football show. We got an NFL show. We've got a guest of the week. So we appreciate you tuning in and staying a part of 100 Yards of Football. Have a great day.